She was a prisoner, now the most feared medic in the galaxy. The prison lights hummed, cold and sterile, as Dr. Evelyn Cross adjusted her broken glasses. Chains clinked at her wrists. She had once been a celebrated trauma surgeon on Earth, decorated for her fieldwork in war zones. Now, she was nothing more than prisoner 381 on the Dominion penal ship Fraxa. Her crime was survival. Captured during a failed raid, she'd been accused of aiding Deathworlder insurgents. The Dominion didn't kill her. Instead, they caged her. A human medic was rare, and the generals saw a use for her skills. She was given the choice: rot in the cells, or patch up their wounded soldiers. She chose to work. The first operation. Her first patient was not human. It was a hulking reptilian commander, chest ripped open by shrapnel. Dominion medics had given up, their instruments useless against the alien's collapsing lungs. Evelyn's chains rattled as she approached, escorted by guards. "You expect prey to fix a warrior," one scoffed. She ignored them. Hands steady, eyes sharp, she improvised, cutting tubing, grafting biofoam, and stitching flesh with brutal efficiency. She worked without hesitation, blood covering her arms. Within an hour, the commander's vitals stabilized. The guards whispered. The commander lived. That night, instead of stale rations, she was given real food. Her chains were loosened. The Dominion had discovered something dangerous, a human who could heal what others could not. Rumors spread. Word of her skills spread across the fleets. Soldiers whispered about the Deathworlder woman who could drag the dying back from the abyss. Some feared her. Rumors claimed she could stitch broken bones back in seconds, regrow organs with her bare hands, even rip life from one body to give it to another. Evelyn never corrected them. Let the fear grow. Fear was power. Her methods unsettled even her captors. She used pain as a tool, forcing patients to endure procedures that would make most faint. Where Dominion healers recoiled, Evelyn pressed forward, muttering, "If you can scream, you can live." One officer, watching her sew a soldier's severed arm back together, whispered to another, "She is not a medic. She is a warlord who uses scalpels instead of blades." Prisoner to asset. The Dominion stopped calling her prisoner 381. She became Dr. Cross. Her cell was replaced with a medical bay. She was still under guard, but the guards avoided her eyes. Some even carried charms to ward off her supposed magic. When commanders asked why she healed so ruthlessly, Evelyn would only say, "Because if I don't, they die." But deep inside, she nurtured a colder truth. She healed because it gave her leverage. Each life she saved became a debt. Each commander who lived owed her. Chains could hold her body, but gratitude or fear bound others far more tightly. The turning point. It was during the siege of Thalren that Evelyn's reputation crystallized. The Dominion fleet had been ambushed. Casualties poured into her bay, burned, bleeding, dying. Dominion medics faltered. Evelyn did not. She barked orders, snapped at officers, ripped open supply crates with her bare hands. When one soldier screamed that he wanted the pain to stop, she slammed a hand against his chest and growled, "You'll stop hurting when you're dead. Until then, you fight." He lived. Hours later, the fleet commander himself was carried in, his body torn apart by plasma fire. The Dominion surgeons froze. His death would mean chaos. Evelyn shoved them aside. She worked like a demon, stitching flesh, forcing tubes into collapsing veins, restarting a stopped heart with a shock from her own chains. When at last the commander opened his eyes, pale but alive, the entire bay fell silent. From that moment, Evelyn Cross was no longer a prisoner. She was indispensable. The prisoner's bargain. But freedom was never given, it had to be taken. Evelyn understood this. She began collecting favors. A soldier here, a commander there. Remember who saved you, she would whisper as she stitched wounds shut. She demanded small concessions, tools, data pads, unrestricted access to supply stores. Her guards dwindled as her importance grew. When one arrogant general sneered at her, saying, "You're just a human tool," Evelyn calmly held up a vial. "Inside this is your blood. I pulled it from your veins while patching your liver. I know exactly what poisons can kill you. Remember that." He never questioned her again. The rumors evolved. She was no longer merely a healer. She was the feared medic, the human who could decide life or death with a flick of her hand. Soldiers whispered that angering her meant waking up on an operating table, screaming, as she taught you the meaning of survival. Enemies and devotion. Not everyone was grateful. Some commanders called her dangerous, a liability. Once, an officer tried to execute her, claiming she had grown too powerful. The bolt never landed. Half the soldiers in the bay turned their weapons on him. "She saved my brother," one growled. "She saved me," another added. "You want her dead? Step forward." The officer fled. Evelyn merely kept stitching, pretending not to notice her new army of loyal patients. Over time, the fear became worship. Soldiers began calling her the scalpel. Others, more superstitious, called her death's handmaid. To them, she wasn't just a medic, she was the thin barrier between life and the void. Freedom. Years passed. Evelyn never escaped. She didn't have to. By the time the Dominion realized it, she was no longer their prisoner. She commanded their respect, their loyalty, their fear. When a new warlord rose and tried to chain her again, Dominion fleets mutinied. Entire battalions refused orders until she was restored to power. The warlord fell. And so it was that Evelyn Cross, once a shackled prisoner, now stood at the head of the largest medical corps in the galaxy. She rebuilt it in her image, ruthless, efficient, terrifying. Medics trained under her learned not to coddle but to command. Pain means you're alive, she drilled into them. And if you're alive, you can fight. Her soldiers marched into battles unafraid, because they believed even if plasma tore them apart, even if death's shadow loomed, the human medic would drag them back. The legend. When alien children misbehaved, parents whispered, "Behave, or the human doctor will come with her needles." When commanders planned campaigns, they asked not, "Do we have enough soldiers?" but, "Will the human stand with us?" On battlefields, enemies surrendered rather than risk being captured and forced onto her table. Stories spread that she could heal the broken or make the healthy scream with endless suffering if they crossed her. No one knew which tales were true. Evelyn never corrected them. And one night, sitting alone in her quarters, she finally allowed herself a bitter smile. She had begun as a prisoner, chained and voiceless. But now, she was free in the only way that mattered. No cell could hold her, no chain could bind her, no general could command her. She was Evelyn Cross, the most feared medic in the galaxy.